everyone! Today I'm going to go over the latest breaking news in a sense of a potential sequel to Game of Thrones, the main series which ended 3 years ago. Now the news comes from an exclusive report by Hollywood Reporter that claims that a show that revolves around Jon Snow is in early development by HBO. The show is supposed to be set after the main show and act as a sequel to the main series. When hearing about the news, it was for the first time, for me at least, it's like I felt a new hope for the damaged franchise. As we all know by now, at least those of us who've watched all 8 seasons of the main show, it ended in a very controversial way and was hated by a large portion of the fan base. The ending was so bad that some fans who considered the show to be the best show on TV of the past 2 decades couldn't even go back and rewatch the show since it ended in such a way that left a bitter taste for most fans. In addition, a petition to remake Season 8 began and garnered almost 2 million signatures. So just to summarize the ending of Game of Thrones, and I'm going to spoil some major events, so just as a warning, spoiler alert, the biggest moment in that final episode was when Jon Snow killed Daenerys by stabbing her in the heart with a knife. After that shocking scene, Drogon came, he melted the Iron Throne and took her body with him to an unknown location that was never disclosed in the final episode. Jon was arrested and awaited a trial, and the council that was formed to decide the fate of Westeros decided to exile him to the Night's Watch, and he eventually decided to depart to beyond what was remained of that wall with the wildlings. And with his departure, the show ended. In short, Daenerys died and was taken by Drogon, Jon departed with the wildlings, Sansa became Queen of the North, which became an independent realm, and of course Bran became the new king of the 6th realm in Westeros. Now in the article, HBO appears to be planning to make a sequel that will follow what happened past the main series, concentrating on Jon Snow's character. The news came as a shock for many fans. It almost seems like this is their way to try and fix the damage of the final season. Now there's a lot of potential for this kind of a show. And you may ask why. Well, first of all, this is their chance to finally resolve the open-ended fate of Daenerys, and while she did die, her body was taken by Drogon away. In that meeting at King's Landing right at the end of the episode, Sam reported that Drogon flew east toward Volantis in Essos. As a reminder, Kinvara, the Red Priestess from Season 6, was the High Priestess of the Red Temple in Volantis. She had a great scene where she gave her full support to Daenerys and claimed her to be Azor Ahai, the princess that was promised. So Drogon took the body of Daenerys to Volantis, where Kinvara and the other Red Priests and Priestesses reside in the Red Temple of R'hllor, and as we know, they are the only ones on the show to have the power of resurrection. Jon was resurrected by Melisandre, and a few other characters went through the same process. The biggest positive for me as a longtime fan of the show is that there is a theoretical possibility for the showrunners and for George to resurrect Daenerys on screen and fix some of their biggest mistakes from Season 8. So what does that mean for the sequel? In my opinion, there's no real reason to make a Jon Snow show unless the writers, HBO and or George, would have wanted to bring Daenerys back. Without her character, there's no sense in making this show. Many fans were disappointed with the fate of the character, not only losing her mind and murdering most of the city, but being betrayed by Jon and losing everything in the process. The way that the character ended on the show was rejected by most fans and was received as a poorly executed character arc. Many fans presumed that she could end up turning mad, but not like this, with no real significant build-up toward that decisive moment. The last 2 episodes were the worst-rated episodes of the show. Her turn was never justified on screen. It was rushed and poorly executed, and as a result, everything that happened after that came off as a complete destruction of what, until Season 8, was surely the best show on TV. The potential is there to not only fix Daenerys' open-ended ending, but Jon's own character's ending with the wildlings despite being the rightful heir to the throne. With Daenerys, it's an open-ended thread, and in Daenerys' case, it would parallel Jon's own resurrection by Melisandre. With Jon, it hasn't been as open-ended. After all, it seems like his final scenes were definite. He went beyond the wall with the other wildlings, into a land that got rid of its curse of the White Walkers and the Night King. For him, there's literally nothing else to do besides living his life in solitude. So what is there to do with Jon beyond this point? Unless the goal, of course, is to perhaps fix his storyline and bring him back from his exile into whatever happenings that involve the realm. Many fans think, in a way, that Arya's own journey into what lies beyond west of Westeros has more potential for a show than Jon's very decisive ending. So what would be the reason for HBO and perhaps George to choose and approve this kind of a show, unless it's going to function as a sort of a continuation for the main show, including the continuation for most of the major characters? Is this what we will define as season 9 and beyond of Game of Thrones? Now, the article doesn't guarantee the production of the show. We may never get a continuation for Game of Thrones, but at the same time, both articles from Hollywood Reporter and from Variety appear to confirm that at least such a show is in preliminary consideration. So these are my overall thoughts about this subject. I'd like to know what you think in the comments below. Do you want a continuation? Do you think it's possible to fix the mistakes of the last season of the main show? Are you even interested in a show about Jon Snow? Do you believe it has to do with George and what may happen in his future books, which have yet to be released? Personally, I think there's a chance that George may have been influenced by the reaction to the final season and to what should be his decisions about the main characters. So that's it for today. I thank you for watching. I'm going to continue to cover this subject, and I'm going to review House of the Dragon when it comes out, and I'll see you in the next video.